Birmingham.
I had to do that, y'all, so I can share.
All right, it's time to let everybody in, right?
Yeah, I'm about to let them in now. Greetings, greetings, greetings. How is everyone this evening?
Awesome.
Awesome, awesome.
All is well.
Welcome. What's going on in here?
Good evening.
Good evening. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We're going to get started. It's about 8:05. I am Lovey Bradley, your current chair for the GUAP Foundation. And I thank you, and the rest of us thank you on the board for being here. I am going to mute everyone. Cory, I just muted you. Can you unmute yourself? My apologies. Thank you.
Not a problem.
I'm going to mute everyone for the purpose of this. This session is being recorded, and how we're going to work this session today, we're just going to have our brother Cory Henry and Kamose Muhammad discuss the DAO, what it is, what it isn't, why it's important for GUAP, and then we're going to open it up for community discussion. And to make this run a little smoothly, for the community discussion part, we just ask that everyone just raise their hands so that we don't have multiple people unmuting at one time and disrupting others as they are speaking. And then we will end it from there. We have about an hour, so we're going to make this one pretty quickly. And I would just like to thank everyone again for attending this month's community forum conversation. So as I said, I am Lovey Bradley. I'm the current chair of the GUAP Foundation and your host. And we are grateful to have you here. And I have two amazing, phenomenal spirits, my brothers, Cory and Kamose. Cory is the Director of Education, and Kamose Muhammad is the Director of Business Development and Community Engagement for the board, for the GUAP Foundation. So without further ado, I know most of you that are on here know who they are. They are great men in the community of GUAP and in their current communities where they live as a whole. So I'm not going to go into much about who they are because I want us to get started and get on this topic because it's a very important topic for GUAP. It's a very important topic for our community, and we need next steps. We need to know, what do we do to move forward so that we can get this going and not continue to have the conversation about what it is and what it isn't, but it's time to actually put some action into place. So I'm going to start it off with Brother Cory and allow him to lead us into the conversation, and let's get it going. Brother Cory.
All right, so welcome everybody. I'm excited to be here, and again with my brother Kamose, to really just have a family discussion. There's a lot going on in the noosphere, right? Concerning money and what is money and what is the future of money. We're seeing the trepidations that have been predicted, if you will. If you go back to 2008, 2009, and what they were saying about banks and about deregulation of banks and about the overproduction of cash. Well, we're here, right? We are where everybody was saying we would be from a fiscal policy, monetary policy point of view. So with that said, also is, what does that leave us with our currency, the currency of our community, the currency of our culture, which is the GUAP coin blockchain and the evolution of it, which is what we're here to speak about. In particular, us evolving into a DAO, into a Web3 community that has voting functions and has, a treasury function and has, a development community that is building and making, solutions on top of the GUAP blockchain. So, I'm here with my brother Muhammad. I definitely want to allow him to kind of weigh in on what, kind of where we've been as far as the DAO goes. And then hopefully before we get to tonight, when we ask some questions and get some recommitment to where are we going and where can we be? Now, I've discussed and I've educated with the board before about what is GUAP. GUAP is a fork of Pivx, which is a fork of Dash, which is a fork of Litecoin, which is a fork of Bitcoin. So technologically and programmatically, GUAP is like Bitcoin, and the inner guts, if you will, of GUAP are the same inner guts that are Bitcoin. But we are also a Ethereum virtual machine compatible proof of stake platform, and we did it before Ethereum. So we have a pretty powerful platform that is native to us, whether we know it or not. And the evolution of that platform is us functioning as the DAO, which is the capabilities that we have. So we are going to ultimately have to look at Pivx, look at Dash, look at their growing pains with their DAOs and where are they now with their DAOs, and then look at us and see where we are and where we want to be. So with that said, Brother Muhammad, I'd like to pause for your comments on what I just said, and then we can dig a little deeper into this discussion.
Yes, sir, brother. Thank you. And greetings, GUAP family. Thank you, Sister Dr. Lovey. Always an honor and a pleasure. First, giving all honor and praise to the Most High and the ancestors. And always a pleasure to talk to the family and to really continue to move the needle forward for our people and what we're doing in terms of this space. I'd like to, as I bring the ancestors in the room, I always like to remind us that this technology is not foreign to us at all. It is in our DNA. We are the foremost technological people on the planet. There's nobody else that has ever built pyramids except African people. So this is really something that is part of us. And what I encourage us all to do continually is to be learning about it so that we can begin to develop it and inculcate it in the ways, forms, and fashions that it works best for us. So in that sense, we're not to be following anyone. We are really to be the trendsetters, the pace setters, the leaders moving forward. And the necessity of a DAO in this sense is absolutely critical. So I want to touch on, as my brother did, a bit about some of the history of the DAO in its formation and so forth as it relates specifically to GUAP. But I want to first just get to the root of it, right? Because the DAO, decentralized, autonomous organization, right? And so what's the real necessity? Why is it so important? Why do other communities have DAOs? There's a lot going on, as my brother said, and we have to be cognizant in this space, as we have to in all respects, of the narrative that's being talked about. We don't want to get caught up in other people's narratives. We don't want to be caught off guard and made to believe something that isn't really a fact. And we want to kind of stay, in my opinion, with the roots, if you will, of the technology of crypto, DeFi, etc. We want to really stay with the roots. And a lot of those roots has to do with this letter A, autonomous, and this letter D, decentralized, right? Because the whole point or at least one of the big points of all of this, is power and control for the people, so to speak, right? Being decentralized, having the ability to have a platform or a means by which we are able to operate in an autonomous fashion, which is protection for the community and everybody involved, protection for all of us who are governors, protection for the founder, but and two, organized, right? Nothing can get done well without organization. And so there, if you do a cursory study, there are a lot of different ways that people have put together, or different communities in the space have put together various versions, you could say, of DAOs. And we certainly have to do that for ourselves and determine what's best for us. But what has happened in the community at large is there was and is, I hope still, a consensus of the need for a DAO. And I'm going to say that we need it more than we needed it last year and the year before. We need it more now than then. But there was certainly a consensus to build one, to move forward, and the mechanisms and means of which to do that had been brought forth. In that sense, it was a treasury DAO. Now, to be clear, that is not a full functioning DAO. It is an aspect, a DAO function. The treasury, which is very important, has great potential for the community at large here and branching out. So communities in general, our people in general can benefit from the GUAP community having a full functioning treasury DAO and then moving into a real functioning DAO. So just wanted to touch on that the fact that this idea or concept has been around for a while. There has been movement and work done in regard to the creation of it. And in fact, it's really ready to go. Information has been put out on a number of channels about next steps. And we hope even this evening to reinvigorate the spirit of the community toward the completion of this step, right? There's a lot of talk now, of course, and it's good about layer 1, layer 2. And this DAO treasury is important and imperative to completion and finalization of some of the layer 1 work that really can take GUAP Coin to its next phases and steps.
So you just said something there that, it's very important that we don't talk under or over the community's head when we say things like layer 1 and layer 2. So let me dig in about what is the difference there and understanding where we sit in that. So layer 1 is more like your foundational currencies from a programmatic and programming point of view. Your layer 1, which GUAP is a layer 1 token, is designed to be built on top of. It's designed to be the ultimate resting place of a transaction and to be the most secure data source for the proof of a transaction. That's what layer 1 is. And then layer 2 is about, you've got your smart contracts, you've got your decentralized apps, and you've got things that are designed for the scalability and across multi-chain capabilities so that you can exchange GUAP for other tokens and you can get into the decentralized space and be able to make exchanges with other crypto tokens. So that's what layer 2 really starts to open up. So as we prepare ourselves to be layer 2, there's not a single layer 2 token that is not still highly dependent upon access to the layer 1 token. And so what having a DAO for the layer 1 does for us is it gives us an emeritus status, if you will, in the evolution of this solution for currency to where we can start to function like the IMF and function like the World Bank and function like these international bodies that set monetary policy without our input. So now in our world, we are the ones who are required to give the input and decide major decisions about the currency on all levels, whether it's layer 1 or layer 2 or layer 3 when we get there. So that's where we sit right now. That's where this DAO will sit. And it'll be a very critical piece of the decision making and the monetary policy that's coming out of any layer 2 solutions.
Yes, sir. Excellent, brother. So in continuing that part of the conversation, because it is, again, of importance, I want to hone in on this DAO treasury and the aspects of building it, where we are with it. You know, what Brother Cory just had mentioned, and he mentioned, you know, I'm gonna call them cartels of sorts, the World Bank, and these other entities. But if we really are paying attention to the news, we're looking around at what's going on the planet, we must be aware that there are currency wars.
Mm-hmm.
That is the battle right in front of us. There are currency wars going on. We need to understand that cartels and factions, if you will, of some sort of kind are being built. The world is changing and is not anymore simply willing to go along with the Western monetary policy as it has been set and orchestrated since roughly 1945. Things are changing. And so the question before us, family, is where do we stand with the changes that are happening, right? This is not, you know, hyperbole or hypothesis. These are realities before our very eyes taking place. And people are setting aside their differences even. Some of us may be aware, for example, that there was a set down between Iran and Saudi Arabia, orchestrated by China. Well, you say, well, why does that matter? Well, the reason they're setting down is because they're tired of being controlled by others. They realize now that they too can have a stake of power in the world. And even though these nation states have various differences between themselves, and some horrific things have taken place between them, they understand that in order for them to gain capacity and power on this planet, that they have to sit down and develop the means by which to work together. So I'm saying for us, family, we have an opportunity here in this community, utilizing this asset, utilizing this currency that we have before us, GUAP, and utilizing our genius as a people to really begin to set a new trend and new pace of self-determination here. Everything functions to some degree or another with the usage of capital. We have the ability now to do that. And with a DAO treasury, and I think everyone or most of us believe, and that's why we are part of the community, we believe in this project, we believe in the currency, we believe that it's going to gain pace and gain value. Well, as that happens, and when that happens, it will happen soon. I believe we'll be seeing it more and more this year. Having a DAO treasury, just that aspect, will empower us to begin to strengthen the infrastructure of the community around us throughout the world. Because the aspect of the production of a treasury, which gives you the ability to utilize capital in the ways, forms, and fashions that we desire, most advantageous for ourselves, that's what this is giving us. And it will do so more and more. I'll stop there. I know my brother will chime in along the pace, but these are just some of the reasons why we need to continue the DAO project itself.
Yeah, and look, I am not number one, I don't know everything, but we live in an age where, there is supreme intelligence being introduced to us. I won't say supreme, but I'll definitely say superior. And that's the mind of AI and all of the access to AI that we have. So I've even taken this conversation to that platform just to ask questions about what kinds of things we should be focused on. And I ask questions about what we have and why it would be important to have something similar with similar capabilities as ours. Tell you case in point, GUAP is a zero knowledge proof enabled platform, meaning we can use GUAP to create zero knowledge proof smart contracts. And what does that mean? Well, from a utility point of view, zero knowledge proofs are one of the most secure ways of verifying people's information without giving up their privacy to other information. So every time we click on an app, we accept the app, whether we're downloading a game or whether we're using it as Uber or Facebook, we click on an app, we're giving them all of our data, so much data that we're unaware of that we're giving them, all of the things that we've ever clicked on, the places we've ever been, the things we've ever purchased online, the contacts in our phones. We're giving that stuff away at the click of a button on a daily basis. And zero knowledge proofs can help you, in the future by being able to browse and being able to participate on sites without giving away certain sensitive information that you don't want to, which is going to help us stay in compliance when it comes to transacting in the future. You're going to have to meet these compliance modules around privacy. In California, you have the CCCP, the California Consumer Privacy Protection laws. And then in Europe, you have the GDPR, which is, their standard for privacy protection. In South Africa, they're going to have the same. So at the end of the day, you're not going to be able to transact without meeting these privacy protection criteria, which means if you're going to have a digital business online where somebody could buy your property, somebody from California could buy something from you, you're going to have to show where your business has protected their privacy, or you could be sued. So these are the types of capabilities that will have us who are out here just trying to do the right thing and run a business end up in some kind of class action lawsuit. Like right now, Shaquille O'Neal, I was just reading, Shaquille O'Neal has been hiding from being served by lawyers because somebody is suing him as a part of the class action lawsuit in relation to FTX. So, you don't want to be attached to something like that, chasing after you, just out here trying to sell online t-shirts, but that's exactly what can happen if we're not deploying some of the technologies that we have available to us. So the further development of GUAP, the further the development of the solutions that we have at our fingertips, and just because you're not using Thor's hammer doesn't mean it's not Thor's hammer, and that you couldn't be out there breaking some stuff up and kicking some butt. We have it in our hands to utilize, and whether it's our generation or the next generation, somebody is going to pick it up and use it. So what we have the opportunity to do is to say, hey, I might not be able to carry Thor's hammer, but I can build a community decision pool around how it should be utilized. And I can be a part of the decision pool around the governance of it and the government that hammer and its position in our lives will play for the security that we create for the diaspora 2023 moving forward into 2050. We're that generation, and we get to be those groups of leaders that came together and built that kind of decision-making capability. And that's what this DAO represents. So we really need to be excited about what we have. We really do need to dig deeper, you know, shoot, get into Chat GPT and ask it questions about GUAP and let it tell you some of the characteristics of the token that we are built on, so that you can gain a little bit more confidence, because full faith and confidence is all any currency ever had, right? That's what the dollar has, and that's what the dollar has on other currencies, is the full faith and confidence. So as faith starts to get shaky, confidence gets shaky, then you start looking at other mechanisms of full faith and confidence, because your full faith and confidence is going to land somewhere. What we're saying is it could land on us. We could start believing in us. And if we did, what would our organization look like? And that's what this DAO represents to us. So we should be excited about the development of this and really want to be a part of it, because it's going to mean a lot in the future. In the same way that it meant a lot what those people did with Satoshi's white paper and how they were able to get behind it and turn it into what is now the Bitcoin community. Well, look at what we got. And what if we start believing in ourselves and start believing in what we've built? And that's what we're kind of highlighting today.
Absolutely, absolutely. Dr. Lovey?
Yeah, let's take some comments and questions from the community if we can.
Yeah, I just wanted to see what we had in play. And as you're bringing that up, I just wanted to quickly further what Brother Cory has he concluded to two things. One was the legal issues that Mr. Brother Shaquille O'Neal is dealing with, and how the DAO itself, or having a DAO, offers, again, and I mentioned it a moment ago, protections, because it is decentralized and autonomous. That's a deeper conversation, and we may be able to touch on it a bit here, but even from a legal standpoint, it offers us that, and we need that. We need our people to be protected, who are developers, builders, those who are investors. So basically all of us, to some extent, need the protections offered by having the DAO or a DAO. And it also, again, puts us in the place where we should be, of those having input, those having and giving their gift, skills, and talents and authorities to build out the system. There are multiple opportunities, family, in the globe, in particular on the continent, that have come up just recently, where monetary issues and monetary strife and monetary concerns are going on amongst the people, where having a proper organization, right, a DAO, would give us the ability to go in and continue to expand and enlarge the footprint of GUAP. So it takes us being ready. It takes us being in position. It takes us being on point to take advantage of the opportunities to do the things that we want to do, and to become the assistants and helpers of the people at large. It's all here for us.
Indeed.
Dr. Lovey?
Yes, indeed. Excuse me. Before I chime in, K. Henry has a question, and I don't want them to forget it, so you could go ahead.
Okay, I won't forget it. Good evening, everyone. I have a question, and I hate to ask it here, but it's like the only avenue that I could, find. I heard about GUAP a few years ago, saw the vision, thought it was great. got on board, bought a node. And from my understanding, the node should basically generate, through the transactions, whether it should generate rewards and, automatically, pile those up. But the situation that I've had is that I have to reach out to the person that I bought the node from to get the rewards. And long story short, I haven't gotten any rewards since like May 2022. And I can't reach the person, and I'm just kind of out here. And it's pretty frustrating because, like I said, I saw the vision of GUAP. I think it's a great thing. Even hearing what's been said so far, just really motivating and inspiring as to what we're talking about and what it can be and what we can turn this into.
Yeah.
But just kind of feeling like I'm out here naked in the street, to put it in a rough way of speaking. And
Since
so
we share the same last name, let me be the one to jump on top of that. Since
I
you
appreciate it.
and you're not the first one, not the last one, that this particular issue is how they really came into the knowledge of what GUAP really is and how GUAP really works. But concerning matters of the old nodes and the recovery of said nodes, we pretty much reach out to people, connect with them offline, and we try to resolve the issue on a case-by-case basis, because
Okay.
there is no mass correction.
Right.
What I will also say is we've put out and created a lot of collateral that teaches you how to set up your own nodes,
Right.
own desktop nodes.
So yeah, I've seen that.
And that is the long-term and probably only real approved solution there is. And that is to have your own nodes that you control and that you cultivate and that you wake up every day and go and manage yourself. Because that is the best way to number one, even be a part of the DAO. You have to be a master node holder, and which is a desktop master node on a desktop computer that has the ability to vote in said DAO. So it's a process you have to go through anyways. Now, as far as your former tokens, how many master nodes you had, that's the stuff that we can definitely take offline and be able to talk through. But I won't tie up this community discussion about that, because we do get that question in a lot of the activities that we try to do for the community at large. So I want to try to keep our conversation to the DAO as best we can, but I do offer my assistance to you if you reach out to me via, the community, a Telegram, or get in touch with me after this, and I'll try to see what I can do to help you sort that out. All right.
His audio went out, not sure why.
Well, my
Okay.
answer is recorded in history, so he'll
Absolutely.
be able to hear it in the replay of this, but definitely looking forward to having that discussion with him in the future.
Got it. I will message you privately, K. Henry, so that you will have that information to be able to reach out to Brother Cory, if that's okay. I hope you can stay.
I think this would be a good place too to say that for everyone listening, hopefully you all are seeing the foundation on the move. You're seeing us really striving now to put educational product out there, to have sessions like this one. That's what it's all about. We are really striving to educate the community, educate ourselves continually, the community, so that there's more synergy among us in what we're doing, and we all become more apt and really beneficial to the big goal and the big picture, right? Because this never was made or meant to be reliant upon one person. or any small group of people per se. This is a community function. And that's what the DAO will ultimately be. The participants of it will be those who are making the decisions and moving the project and moving the coin and moving the currency all forward for the benefit of itself. So connect with us. We put out a lot of information. We put it in the Telegram, but stay tied into us in terms of the things that we're doing, information we're getting out, and these educational programs. I think it'll help a lot in clearing up a lot of things that have gone on in the past and may come up in the future.
Other hands, other questions?
Yes, A. Baker?
Yeah, thanks. I was just wondering, with the failure of two banks in Silicon Valley, if the GUAP Foundation is going to put out any statements. This is a huge opportunity where mainstream media is just kind of beating up on crypto. I heard Rachel Maddow refer to it as a racket, a crypto racket. And, on the other hand, there's a lot of enterprise companies coming out to ban like ChatGPT and all AI tools. So I don't know if the GUAP Foundation, has kind of so it's really a public relations plan in place and what that would look like and what it would take to get that off the ground. Because I think that really is what needs to be done sooner than later, is to just be part of that larger narrative in a big way, right? So I was just wondering if any statements are planning on going out about Silicon Valley Bank, or is there a larger kind of PR strategy that's part of?
That's a great question. I want to answer with two minds. The first mind is to say, it's like playing whack-a-mole out there right now regulatorily. And in the game of whack-a-mole, you hit the head that pops up, but the heads that don't pop up, you don't hit, right? And that's kind of how I feel like the SEC has really taken a very whack-a-mole approach to these cryptocurrencies. So if you're being seen and you're putting yourself as a solution or an alternative to the dollar, then you're going to be called on that. You're going to be combed through and picked through, and they're going to find something that you said or didn't say or did or didn't do that makes you a quote unquote security. And now you got the crosshairs on you. So I don't know if hopping out there right now to go poke, the US dollar as a monetary system in the eye is necessarily the most expedient thing that we should do. I think for us, it's about gathering internally and continuing to ensure that we are a valid solution to those problems, so that we can avoid the kind of things that we saw happening with them. Because, they made decisions based on things that they thought were good ideas to do back when the treasuries were selling at a 1.7% interest rate. And now that their treasuries are selling at a 5% interest rate, that stuff is garbage on their books. But I can't say that that was a bad decision when they did it. So I said that to say, I'm more about us cleaning, the plank in our own eye, right? And that's the opportunity to actually get our stuff stood up and together and functioning before we make some grandiose statements about how we feel about what's going on, in an entirely different currency that has nothing to do with with our value, except to push it up. So that's just how I would, answer that is, and I welcome Brother Muhammad to try to tackle it, but me personally, I would stay out of it.
Yes, I think that's a very good question. And it does tend to draw us in a bit, but I too would stay somewhat in a cautious position. And I mentioned the word narrative before. And so really when we look at what's going on, if you pay attention close enough, you would hear a lot of economists, and I would certainly trust the word of an economist more than a reporter per se. But you hear economists, some who have preached the downfall of cryptocurrency. You hear others who talk about that it will spike to enormous and tremendous values. The proof is really in the pudding, and there's a lot to consider though about how some of it all has actually manifested itself, right?
Yep.
There's a question, to ponder as to the value of, let's say, a Bitcoin, and how that value is reflective and operating and connected to other markets, etc. And so, there's still this. I guess I would consider myself at least an activist, sort of, toward the purism, if there is such a thing, of the space. Those early adopters who saw this as a means to not be controlled, as a means to rid ourselves of intermediaries who wax rich off of everything that we do, a means by which we could begin to develop powerful and strong communities throughout the world. I think that's really our narrative that we should be sharing, educating, and producing through the channels. And there are many of them. Web3 was mentioned. We should talk more about it. But there are many channels through which we should be giving our narrative and sharing our narrative, and not necessarily getting caught up in the others. A lot of what has been predicted, we're seeing manifest. So there are those who have said that this economic system is collapsing. And I would concur that Western economic philosophies and principles, capitalism, if you will, as it exists today, is faltering and failing. I think, to Brother Cory's point, what we have to make sure that we do, and I said it just a moment ago, we have to ensure that we are prepared, that we are building a system that can contrast that which exists. And so when you do that and it's functional and it works, people will naturally be drawn to the opposite, to success rather than that which is failing. So I think our duty and responsibility right now is the production of a system that is feasible, that works, and that proves itself continually as a countermeasure to a failing economic system.
Yeah. And a crypto is what a crypto does. Let me say that differently. You're known for your fruit, and your fruit is your utility. So how is your currency being utilized? So it's not about crypto do or crypto don't, but it's more about what does a crypto do and what doesn't the crypto do? Meaning, what solutions are being built on top of your blockchain? Because a blockchain all by itself as just a mechanism of gathering tokens, hell, you can go buy a whole bunch of Monopoly games and be Monopoly rich, But it's until we establish business utilities. And I know quite a few businesses that are struggling with getting dollars right now. And most of them are businesses owned by people of color. So that's how we're looking at it. We're looking at it like, how do we create something that's going to benefit the target demographic that we're hoping to influence? And that is a capability, a Web3 capability for the businesses that represent the African diaspora. That's what we're building. And tonight we're talking about how do we go ahead and take advantage of the functionality of a decentralized autonomous organizational setup for that utility in GUAP. That's what it's about. That's the 100-yard solution. Right? That's what will get us the 7 points or the touchdown. Everything, all around the other mechanisms that don't include that are really just kind of not the primary energy that we should really be, generating. The dollar's going to do what the dollar does. And the countries that will stick with the dollar are going to stick with the dollar forever. But there are going to be some countries that are going to look for alternatives. And if we get our stuff together, we could potentially be an alternative.
Thank you, Brother Cory. Thank you, Brother Muhammad. I want to piggyback off of what you said, Brother Cory. So if we get our stuff together, we can be put in place to be the alternative. So what would be the next step, as in reference to the DAO, of us getting our stuff together? If you two would elaborate on that.
We have a functioning DAO where we're voting and submitting votes for ideas and able to vote on resolutions and then see some resolutions come to pass. I don't care if it's vote on what kind of t-shirts we should roll out for the community to buy, or voting on how we feel about our website and whether we need to add some functionality to the website. As long as we just start voting, as long as we take advantage of that functionality of our blockchain, that's the energy that we want to see come to pass in 2023, so that then we can start taking those votes and turning those votes into solutions and into, utilities like, the GUAP TV and GUAP NFTs and GUAP, privacy protection applications and GUAP malls and GUAP cars and GUAP vacations and all these other different things that can come from the kickstarting of those types of initiatives. To me, that's what we should be on, and because those are the things that SVB did prior to their but for businesses that aren't us, I don't know. Look, when something big happens, like a bank or something like that affects our community, you'll hear the ripples across our community. I ain't heard no ripples across our community around SVB. I ain't met a single person yet, especially a person look like me, that's, oh man, SVB down, man, I lost all this money, man. I don't know nobody lost any money from it. So not that that's not the truth. Somebody lost money, but that's primarily gone to businesses that were not us. That was venture capital and businesses in Silicon Valley and people who got the bag and they were banking with SVB. They ain't in Atlanta. They're not in Baltimore. They're not in Mississippi, Alabama. They're not in the places where we are out here asking for money. They ain't gave me no money. I ain't never got a dime from SVB, nor do I know anybody who did. So it's really not my problem right now. I really am trying to focus on our solutions, to tell you the truth.
So So family, let us talk like family this evening as we're drawing nigh, and let us say where we are in terms of the GUAP DAO. And so once again, there was the consensus of the community that a DAO should be built. There was work done. There were developers hired. There was apparatus built. And where we are right now, in reality, is we need to complete this DAO project. So we put out information where roughly $7,500 would be the full price tag, and I'll break that down. 5,000 of those dollars are to complete the DAO and make it functional, operative. The other 2,500 would be for continuous maintenance, growth, development of it going forward, right? Now, the foundation, along with a few of community members, foundation members donated to the tune of, I believe, roughly about $2,200-$2,300 has already been raised in the cause to get the DAO treasury up, functioning, running. You, I, or anyone here could be the recipient. This is how we got to see it. This is how we got to see it, family. Any of us might have a need. We know somebody who has a need. Imagine us being able to fulfill and help benefit our community because of the proceeds being produced from our blockchain that come out of our DAO treasury. Imagine that. Imagine use case in terms of being able to give grants to causes, to businesses, etc., that can come out of our DAO treasury. Well, we got to get this thing built and completed now. We've engaged the developers on more than one occasion. To be truthful with us, we've fallen short in not completing the task. I'm saying to us who are present here this evening, we seek to soon call a governor's meeting, and we're going to ask the community at large, but it would seem like if we ourselves won't get together to finalize the fundraising aspect to do what needs to be done, then we have to do maybe what's the next best things. There are governors among us, our people, who some of them may have greater resources financially, who might be willing to step up and fully fund the rest of the necessity of the capital that needs to be raised. But they might want, some benefit for that. We have to consider that kind of a thing because anytime we need to do something, generally capital may be involved. It has to be raised some kind of a way. So if the community does not at this time, and I'm hoping that those here this evening will yourselves, if you have not donated, I think, and Dr. Lovey, if you can put in the chat the Cash App and the Bitcoin wallet address as well, so persons here can have them if they want to make donations as we conclude this evening and thereafter. But we're asking you guys to get the word out too, throughout the community, that this is a project for all of us that is worthy of our participation and worthy of us putting up our dollars, because it's something we're all going to benefit from, and bigger than just us, our people in our community at large. So that's where we really are. That's the numbers. That's what we have to raise. That's what's been raised. And at the moment, that looks like what the options are. We have to finalize and finish raising the capital ourselves as a community, or we have to look outside or sort of quasi outside. But we have to look at maybe those in the community who have deeper pockets, let's say, who might be willing to assist, but they might want something in exchange. I'm not saying what that is or what that might be, but it might be a business proposition is what I'm saying. So in a business proposition, there's certainly going to be that potentiality of that type of exchange. But that's kind of where we are. And I'd love hopefully to get some questions on that. And even more so, hope to see all of us here donating to the cause.
I am getting that information for the Bitcoin wallet address. We'll drop the Cash App one in. And while we're in the process of doing that, does anyone else have any questions, comments, concerns, or anything that you would like to add to the discussion in reference to the DAO? As we are at the top of the hour, we want to make sure that everyone's voices are heard. So the floor is open.
Just really quickly, I would love, like, I don't know if there's like a one pager that could be created about this so that we can socialize it. That would be really helpful.
Indeed.
Absolutely. I think we were circulating some information in the Telegram. We'll seek to redo that again. I think, and if persons here are not governors, or excuse me, if you are governors, meaning you own a masternode, not a shared masternode, but you are owner of a masternode, please also put your email addresses in the chat. You need to be getting information about governors meetings and et cetera, so you can participate in those. But we've certainly produced some data and certainly want to reproduce that information, and so you can stay up to date on what's going on.
You just made a point on masternodes and owning a masternode and not a shared masternode. If someone is here tonight that is new to GUAP and bought into GUAP, how would they determine or know if they own a masternode or if they have a shared masternode?
If you have a masternode, you would have the controller to your masternode in your wallet.
On your desktop.
Yes, yes. So that would be the definitive way that you would know whether or not you own completely a master.
Yep. So you have to have a desktop copy of the GUAP blockchain, and you have to have set up a masternode, which is a very intricate process. You would know if you did it. And if you don't have that, then we want you to have it. It's the cheapest time to be able to qualify yourselves for it. You know, I remember a time when masternodes were over $3,000. So
And it's coming back.
So right now, you know, one masternode is 10,000 GUAP. You can go to CoinMarketCap and get the current price of GUAP and understand what an amazing time it is to become a masternode holder, because it's nothing like it was back when, you know, GUAP was, I don't know, 10 cents all the way up 25 cents. You know, it used to be quite a feat. So, you know, it's a great time to position yourself, not just, you know, from a rewards point of view, but from a DAO participation point of view, to be in the decision-making process of, you know, the voting public inside of this DAO. Now, as far as the DAO fundraiser is concerned, yeah, I encourage all of us to get as involved as we physically can, and to contribute to the development of this DAO capability, because, you know, you want to be able to vote on resolutions, and you want to be a part of that kind of decision-making structure. So I would love to see more of us functioning that way and answering our questions and our to-dos through that functionality. So I highly recommend participation in helping the foundation to fulfill this task of facilitating the creation of this DAO.
And just wanted to add this extra point just to make sure there's no confusion whatsoever. You could own fully a masternode and not necessarily host it yourself. As brother said, that's ultimately where we might want to be. But there's certainly people in the community who are full masternode owners and are having their masternodes hosted by others for various reasons, right? So just because your masternode is hosted by someone else does not mean that you are not a full masternode owner. But there were also mechanisms set up at various times where people were able to pool funds and own shared masternodes. Again, one of the big things mentioned here was you would know because A, you'd have a controller, B, you put 10,000 GUAP into something of your own. And so those two evidentiary particulars help you to know if you actually own. So if you didn't put 10,000 it locked into a masternode of your own, then you're probably not a masternode holder.
Got it. Thank you. So one last thing that I need to ask for those that may be thinking or watching a replay. So in order to vote, once the DAO is put into place and go live, you must be a masternode holder. Am I correct? Or owner?
Yes,
Yes.
you must be a governor.
Must be a
Must be a
verified masternode holder. That's what allows you to become a governor. And this is a community of governors.
Self-determination at its best.
Perfect. I have inserted Cash App and the Bitcoin address to be able to contribute your contributions to the DAO. Cash App is at the top and at the bottom is the Bitcoin address. And most certainly, as Muhammad has stated, we have about roughly $2,200, $2,300 raised just from the foundation itself, and that's based on 8 members. So as a community, we have 15 here. If others could put forth their best contribution, we could get this going just off of the ones that are currently here. And there are more people in the community. And as Abigail addressed and stated that if we had a one-pager that we could also circulate around as well, we can go beyond what we need. So as a community and a family, let's make this happen and not allow it to continue to be talk. We have to create the action so that we can do what we need to do for our families, ourselves, in this community. So I want to ask everyone, did you have an opportunity to get the information in the chat? I'll give you a few more seconds to do that. And while you are gathering that information, again, if you are a masternode holder, owner, make sure you put your email in the chat so that we can have that to make sure that you are in communications for our governor's meeting that is coming up and to stay in the loop of what is going on. It's important that you are aware and have a voice and be heard and keep abreast as to what we're doing as a foundation. If you had the email, the information in the chat, could you type yes, or you still need time to jot that down?
I am putting my some contact information here for myself. If anyone wants to reach me on Telegram and go from there, I'm putting that here in the chat for you. You'll see me in Telegram as Ifa Baby. I'm going to spell it out for you, but you can DM me there.
Also in the chat, I put, I think K. Henry's still on here. I'm not for sure. Might be under K. I put Brother Cory's information as far as his email. Brother Cory, is there any other avenues that you would like to be reached that you'd like to drop in the chat?
No, email is fine. Email is a tokenized trail of information. So I look forward to interacting with everybody. And I'm glad that we're recording this so that people will be able to get the playback. And we're going to continue to have these discussions and continue to get community engagement. So, the next time these are coming out, we'll do a good job of marketing it. And please come back, but share this information with people, because we want to, recruit you to be a part of the activities of the foundation at large. We need to be much, much larger than the small amount of us who are kind of carrying this initiative right now. I would like to see us functioning at around 100 to 200 active members. And it's going to take us really each one, teach one style.
And please note that Brother Cory did a video, an educational video on masternodes and how to set up your own masternodes. And then there is also a video on probate on how to purchase GUAP. Those videos are available to you on the GUAP Foundation's YouTube channel. By all means, do your due diligence, educate yourself as well, and continue to show up in these spaces as the foundation is here and we do what we are designed to do, which is to educate. And we want to make sure that we all are learning together. We know what GUAP is, what it isn't, what crypto is, what it isn't, what Bitcoin is, what it isn't, what blockchain is, what it isn't, what Web3 is, what it isn't, NFTs, and so on. And in this space, we all can educate one another. However, we have to show up, as Brother Cory said, and we need to be able to be here and take our financial matters into our own hands. With that being said, we are at the top of the hour. I thank each and every one of you for being present and showing up. If you have any questions, concerns, or anything that you would like to see us speak on, please email the foundation and we will definitely speak on that topic. Or if there's something that you would like to speak on, please email the foundation and we will allow you to come into the space and speak as well. I am Lovely Bradley. I'm your chair for the foundation. Brother Cory, who is your director of education, and Brother Muhammad, who is your director of business and community engagement. We thank you for your presence and we thank you for showing up. That is the end of the discussion for this evening. We'll see you again on Community Forum for April next month.
Shay.
Shay.
Yeah.